The world today is nothing like the one your ancestors dreamed of. In the past, people valued a voice for its truth. Now it's judged by how loud it is. Once, a wise thinker could hold a whole nation's attention. Now, quick flashes and empty noise take over. We have more information around us than ever before, yet real wisdom is harder to find. Our shelves are full, but our hearts feel empty. We've mixed up facts with understanding, speed with real clarity, and the crowds cheer with the quiet truth inside us. The age you live in does not reward those who seek to see further. It rewards those who can shout louder. The algorithms do not serve the thinkers, the poets, the sages. They serve the entertainers, the provocateurs, the performers. They turn discourse into theater, complexity into slogans, and reflection into a liability. You can measure this shift in every viral moment, in every conversation cut short, because it demanded too much attention. We have mistaken reaction for thought, and the result is a world drowning in noise, yet starving for meaning. Once, wisdom was revered because it slowed you down. It forced you to stop, to sit with uncomfortable truths, to step beyond the safety of your certainties. It was never hurried. It bloomed over years, not seconds. But now, time itself is an enemy. Patience is dismissed as weakness. Silence is mistaken for ignorance. The quick answer is celebrated even if it is wrong, and the thoughtful pause is met with suspicion. We have built an entire culture on the premise that attention is currency, and everyone is trying to spend yours before you spend it yourself. The tragedy is not that foolishness exists, it always has. The tragedy is that we have wrapped it in charm, humor, and spectacle, and then called it culture. We laugh at our own shallowness, not realizing that in doing so, we grant it legitimacy. When every feed is filled with outrage, distraction, and performance, the deeper current of life is obscured. And slowly, imperceptibly, we forget what depth feels like. We forget the slow burn of an idea that lingers for days. We forget the satisfaction of wrestling with a question we cannot immediately answer. There is a reason those who control your attention rarely want you still. Stillness breeds awareness. Awareness breeds questions. And questions threaten the narratives that keep the machinery running. The easiest person to influence is the one who is too distracted to notice they are being influenced at all. This is why it is not a grand conspiracy that blinds us. It is 1,000 small indulgences in the comfortable, the quick, the shallow. We choose the easy meal over the nourishing one, the familiar echo over the challenging truth. And the more we choose it, the more natural it feels to avoid the work of thinking. True wisdom has not vanished. It has withdrawn. It waits in the places we have stopped visiting, the quiet of a long walk with no destination, the margins of old books with underlined truths, the unhurried conversations with those who speak to be understood, not to be noticed. It waits for those who still dare to be alone with their own mind, for those who have not yet surrendered the ability to sit without reaching for a screen. If you want to find it again, you will have to step out of the current. You will have to resist the seduction of immediacy and choose the discomfort of depth. This will not make you popular. The world does not cheer for the one who moves slowly while everyone else runs. But it will make you free, because the wise are not those who have memorized the most, but those who have learned to see clearly. And clarity is the one thing a noisy world cannot give you. It is something you must claim for yourself. To live wisely now is to refuse the game that everyone else is playing. It is to value truth over victory, presence over performance, understanding over certainty. It is to meet a question and not flinch because it has no easy answer. It is to stand in the center of the storm of opinions and remain unmoved until you have found the thing that feels unshakably true. That kind of steadiness cannot be bought, cannot be faked, cannot be given by anyone else. It is earned in the slow, often lonely labor of becoming awake to your own life. And once you begin, you will notice something unsettling. The noise loses its hold. The things that once seemed urgent will begin to look trivial. The voices that once felt authoritative will reveal themselves as hollow. You will see the patterns, the ways in which distraction keeps people compliant, in which outrage keeps them divided, in which novelty keeps them from ever asking whether they are truly living. And you will understand why wisdom is feared, because it makes you harder to control. The world will not hand you wisdom, it will sell you its imitation. It will offer you inspirational slogans instead of soul work, life hacks instead of life understanding, curated positivity instead of the courage to face your own shadow. But wisdom will not compete for your attention. It will not shout. It will wait in the quiet, and it will ask you only one thing. Will you come closer? The moment you do, something shifts. You begin to listen differently, not just to others, but to the subtle movements within yourself. You notice how much of what you believed was simply inherited, unexamined. You feel the edges of your own conditioning, and then you begin the most dangerous act in the modern world. You start thinking for yourself. You begin to see that you have been carrying answers that were never truly yours, and you lay them down to make room for questions that feel alive. If you persist, you will realize that wisdom is not an arrival. It is a way of traveling. It is how you choose to meet each moment, not with the desperation to be right, but with the openness to be changed. It is how you decide what deserves your attention and what does not. It is how you refuse to mistake the loudest voice for the truest one. And perhaps the most radical thing of all, you will start to live at a different pace. While others rush to consume the next thing, you will linger with the current one. While others chase certainty, you will become comfortable with mystery. While others look for meaning in the spectacle, you will find it in the quiet, ordinary moments that pass unnoticed by most. This is not withdrawal from the world. It is a return to the real world, the one that exists beneath the performances and projections. The choice before you is simple, but not easy. You can let the tide carry you, or you can learn to stand against it. You can trade your attention for endless stimulation, or you can guard it as the source of your life. You can join the chorus of noise, or you can become the rare voice that speaks only when there is something worth saying. The age of glorified stupidity will not end with a grand cultural awakening. It will end one person at a time, choosing not to participate. And that is where your power lies, not in changing the entire world, but in refusing to be shaped by it, in living in such a way that your life itself becomes a quiet argument for depth, for clarity, for truth. And if enough people do that, then wisdom will not have to hide any longer. It will walk openly again, as it once did, not because the world rewarded it, but because enough souls remembered it was worth carrying. You begin to see that the real battleground is not in the noise outside, but in the quiet inside. Every moment becomes a choice, to follow the easy path of distraction or the harder road of attention. You start noticing how much of your life has been lived on borrowed thoughts, how many of your convictions are inherited scripts, never questioned, just repeated. And with that realization comes both freedom and fear. Freedom because you can finally choose differently. Fear because you now bear the weight of that choice. The wise have always been those willing to carry that weight. They accept that truth is often uncomfortable, that clarity may cost them belonging, and that depth often demands a kind of solitude others will not understand. They do not seek to dominate the crowd or to be its hero. They seek to live in such alignment that their very existence becomes a mirror, silently asking others to consider their own reflection. But in an age where everything is broadcast, where every opinion must be shared instantly, the one who pauses becomes an anomaly, almost suspicious. Yet this is the paradox. The slower you move, the clearer the world becomes. You start to notice the subtleties, the way certain narratives are repeated until they feel natural, the way outrage is carefully packaged and delivered, the way convenience is dangled as freedom when it is often a quiet form of dependence. You see how systems benefit from your restlessness, how industries profit from your dissatisfaction, how entire economies are built on keeping you looking outward instead of inward. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. This is why wisdom is not just a personal luxury, it is an act of resistance. It disrupts the loop of consumption, the reflex of reacting before thinking, the endless cycle of wanting without wondering why. To be wise in this world is to become a slow-moving storm in a landscape of speed. It is to walk through the marketplace of distraction with your gaze fixed on something beyond the stalls. It is to remember that the most valuable things cannot be bought, shared, or posted. They must be lived. And living them requires stripping away illusions. The illusion that being seen is the same as being known. The illusion that being informed is the same as understanding. The illusion that the most popular path must also be the right one. These are the mirages the desert of modern life offers, and many wander forever in pursuit of them, never realizing they are chasing reflections. Wisdom asks you to stop walking toward the shimmering horizon and instead dig where you stand, to find the well that has always been there beneath your feet. This digging is not glamorous. It does not trend. No one applauds you for sitting in silence with your own thoughts. But the water you find there is different from the water the world sells. It does not run out. It does not depend on approval. It does not lose its purity in the storms. And the more you drink from it, the more you find that you need less from the world. That needlessness is power, because a person who cannot be baited by every lure, who cannot be provoked by every noise, is a person who lives on their own terms. But there is a cost to this kind of freedom. You will feel the pull of the crowd, not just in your mind, but in your very body. You will sense the discomfort others feel when you no longer play the game. You may even question whether the stillness you found is worth the friction it creates. Yet every sage who has walked before you, from the ancient deserts to the mountain monasteries, has faced this same choice. They all knew that the reward of truth is rarely comfort, it is clarity, and clarity is worth every exile. So you begin to craft your life differently. You measure your days not by how much you have consumed, but by how much you have understood. You treat your attention as sacred, giving it only to what shapes you into someone worth becoming. You speak less, but your words carry more weight. You listen more, not because you have nothing to say, but because you know the value of what can only be learned in the space between another's sentences. You seek fewer answers and more precise questions, because the right question can change the shape of your life.